year ago to this very day, I broke my back. I was trying to do a backflip on a trampoline when I landed myself, quite literally, with a broken spine. As I was lying there, face down, in the worst pain of my life, screaming, help me, and wiggling my toes to see if my legs were still working, all I could think of was, this is going to make a great tweet. My name's Hannah, and I've been addicted to social media for 10 years. The thing about social media is everything about it is designed to be as addictive as possible. Every like, every retweet, every comment that you get sends a hit of dopamine directly to your brain. It makes you feel good. And this feeling is what I've always loved about social media. When I joined Twitter in 2012, I was immediately hooked. I spent a long time learning what worked and what didn't work in order to grow as many followers as I possibly could. I joined groups of people who were doing the same thing, and we would share our content across onto each other's networks in order to help each other grow. And eventually, I worked out that if I was to manually follow 1,000 people every single day, clicking my mouse 1,000 times, sitting in my bedroom, likelihood is I would get 200 people to follow me back. This addiction led me to growing 50,000 followers on my personal account in the space of a year. With each new wave of notifications came a wave of gratification that I so desired. I absolutely loved it. Except when the wave of notifications wasn't as big as the last wave, or I was posting about my looks or my lifestyle. This constant feedback loop that you get on social media, well, it doesn't exist in real life. I don't walk down the street every day and get upset if people ignore me. People don't comment on my face or on my outfit, but that's what you get with social media. When the likes and the retweets aren't enough, that's when it causes problems. And this actually led me to quite a dark place in my life. Social media ended up amplifying my underlying and pre-existing body image issues. With every selfie that didn't get enough likes, or with every tweet that didn't get enough retweets, my mind would start to race. Am I not good enough? Do I need to be skinnier? Do I need to wear more makeup or learn how to do makeup in a different way to how I already do it? It got to the point where I was exercising 7 days a week and burning off more calories than I was consuming. Alongside other things in my life, it was clear that social media needed to change. Sadly, too many people are falling victim to this constant feedback loop, constantly striving for an unrealistic version of themselves that isn't attainable. Luckily enough for myself, well, I didn't let it get that far. I soon realized that as much as I thought people might care about me, I was just a regular trainee teacher from the Northeast, and looking back, that was absolutely fine. What I'd learned from a year of posting to this Twitter account was when I posted not about myself, but about experiences that were shared with other people, that's when things really started to blow up. People care about themselves, not about me, and that's fine. I loved social media, I loved the challenge it provided, but it was clearly causing me some problems, and I needed to remove myself. So I did. I removed myself completely, and instead, I created faceless parody accounts. I created a Harry Potter account because I loved Harry Potter. I loved Harry Potter from being 6 years old, reading the first book in my bedroom at 11 p.m. at night when my mum had put me to bed at 7. And I posted silly puns and jokes. And luckily enough for me, well, a lot of people quite liked them. This type of stuff is what kind of got me going. I created an account about The Sims because The Sims was my most favorite game at the time, but The Sims wasn't just my favorite game. The Sims was millions of people's favorite games. The Sims is actually one of the most played games of all time. And I created an account about my memories from primary school. Like I said, I was a trainee teacher at the time. I was going into schools and I was seeing things happening in primary school that I remembered happening when I was in primary school. Who here remembers the teacher telling you the story of that one kid who swung too far back on his chair, cracked his head open, and died? probably didn't actually happen, but over 45,000 people engaged with this tweet. That's 45,000 people sharing in this same experience. And something had clicked. This wasn't just more enjoyable, but it was clearly working. And after a period of time, long gone were the days of me caring about how many calories I was consuming. I was still caring about the engagement, but it was for the right reasons. Similarly to when a comedian stands up on stage and gets laughed at for their jokes, people aren't laughing at them or their appearance, they're laughing at their skill. And that was the same here. I was still getting this buzz, but it was for the right reasons. Instead of going from 0 to 50,000 followers in the space of a year, well, I grew from 0 to 500,000 followers in the space of 3 months. In January 2014, I received a direct message. It said, "Hey man, love your page. How long have you been running it for?" Steve Bartlett and Don McGregor here had just left their company Wallpark, which is an online student notice board, to start a social media company with the assets that they'd built. They understood that social media was going to be the next big thing, and they wanted to spend their time rounding up as much social media real estate as possible. They offered me £1,500 for all of my accounts. And like I said, I was a trainee teacher, I wasn't earning any money, I was living at home with my dad, and being perfectly honest, I'd never seen that much money before in my life. But looking at where it got me to this day, I'm very, very glad I turned them down and asked how else we could work together. As all my teacher friends went off to start their teaching careers, against all the advice of my parents and my family, well, I went off to start a company with 2 strange boys off the internet. In the early days, our main aim was to grow as many followers as possible. I was able to drive this obsessive passion of mine into something that I absolutely loved. And before long, we were sitting on tens of millions of followers. Clients were knocking down our doors to access 1, our media portfolio, and 2, for us to help them with their social media too. And 5 years later, well, Social Chain Group has 2 companies and 5 offices all around the world. We have Social Chain, which is a social media marketing agency, and we have Media Chain, which is one of the most engaged social publishers in the world. And last year, Vogue named me in the list of the most 25 influential women in the country, alongside people like, thank you very much, alongside people like Dua Lipa, Meghan Markle, and J.K. Rowling, which, as you can imagine, because I love Harry Potter so much, that was the best thing that had ever happened to me, really. I wasn't listed in this list because I'm famous or a princess, but I was listed here because of my influence online, the communities that I've built, and the campaigns that I've worked on. Now, I'm not standing here today and saying that social media is all good, because it's not. But what I am trying to say is that being obsessed over something doesn't have to be all negative. If you're obsessed over something and it mostly makes you feel good, cut out the parts that make you feel bad and double down on the parts that make you feel good. This is what we all need to do with social media. Social media is a fantastic communication tool that's almost opened up our innate desire to connect with one another, opened us up to everyone around the world, whether that's speaking to your friends on the other side of the planet, keeping up with your daughter who's gone off on a gap year, or experiencing things through videos that we wouldn't be able to experience in our day-to-day lives. Social media is not a scary place, it's completely and utterly human. But just like many inventions throughout human history, we need to learn what's right and what's wrong. Take cars, for example. When they were first invented, people were petrified of them. They used to call them the horseless carriage. They didn't understand how they could help them with their lives, and there was no speed limits, there were no seat belts, and there were no driving lessons or driving tests. But think about now, 77% of households have a car, and we're no longer scared of them. We understand how they benefit our lives. We tested, we learned, and we iterated. But how are we iterating at the moment for social media? I look at the papers every other day and they're plastered with the negative, horrific sides of social media. We have fake news, we have depression in millennials, and we have things as horrific as child predators in the YouTube comments. It really seems like there's no good to this new technology. But I really believe we're still just in that learning phase at the moment, and we still need to iterate. The platforms are actually starting to do so. Mark Zuckerberg here, well, he learned the hard way of how bad it can get. And he's starting to really think about how to make his social media platforms a better place to be. He's working on proactively identifying harmful content and making sure it doesn't make its way onto his platforms. And he says that making Facebook, Instagram, and his other companies a safe and enjoyable place to be is some of his most important work. YouTube is another example are iterating and constantly iterating their community standards and guidelines. This example here is them doubling down on harmful pranks that people might want to engage in if they see a video and go and do it in real life. It's very, very clear that we've still got a long way to go. But a car can be as safe as it's possible for a car to be. But if the person who's driving it hasn't passed their driving test, likelihood is they're going to crash. And just like cars, well, social media is not going to go away. From the moment a baby is able to hold something in its hands, it's holding a tablet or a phone. But some parents and teachers are still shying away from this new technology. The only lessons to this day taught in schools about social media are teaching children to be fearful of it. Don't give out your personal information online. Don't talk to strangers online, which is very important, yes, but what about kids who are starving themselves because they've seen a celebrity on Instagram who's paid thousands of pounds to a personal trainer and thousands of pounds for plastic surgery? We don't teach them about that yet. We teach kids how to engage in social situations in normal day-to-day life, say please, say thank you, but we don't teach them how to engage on this new social media communication tool. Social media is not going to go away, and to not teach ourselves about it enough is giving our children a disservice. Beyond clickbait, beyond fake news, social media has actually given us a lot of fantastic things. The millions of jobs it's created, the platform it's provided for millions of artists to share their work. You look at the charts today, and we wouldn't have so many people in them without social media. We have Justin Bieber here, who 12 years ago was uploading videos of himself singing on YouTube. Same goes for Shawn Mendes. And I suppose one of the most important things that social media has provided for us is a way for us to come together in solidarity when it's most needed. Social media is here to stay. And I'm not going to stand here and say that I know what's around the corner because I can't see into the future. But what I do know is if we test, we learn, and we iterate, then I'm excited to see what is. Albus Dumbledore said that humans have a knack for choosing precisely the things that are worse for them. Social media could be one of them, but I don't think it has to be. Thank you very much.